Hello ladies and gentlemen to a new video of Shashka Pursuit. So today, I hope not, but I think a lot of people want to rip my head off because I will take different sources from different time periods to shed some light onto the stance and the positioning with a Shashka with a Cossack saber. So don't be surprised when I mention sources from the 14th century and from the 19th century, 18th century, and between those. So the first thing I want to mention is the stance. This might be different in some points to the stance you know from British military saber fencing or Italian, Austro-Hungarian or whatever. So in the usual stances, you have more or less 60% and 40% of the weight distributed between your legs, in your legs, between your legs. So you got 60% on your hind leg, and on your front leg you have enough that you can still retreat your leg easily. And this is quite similar mentioned in the Cossack manual, that there is a kind of exercise for the recruits to keep keep all your weight on your behind leg and lift your leading foot just as a kind of exercise. So why this is, maybe when you look at the military fencing from Great Britain, from the United Kingdom, the British Isles, you can see that often when they engage, they make a step forwards to the enemy, and then they retreat. And when they retreat or take a guard position, they pull back their leg in case the opponent targets an upper opening and then feints and hits the leg. So standing like this, go back, attack, go back, stance. Or maybe it's even, or you try to keep most of the weight on your rear leg to kick. Maybe you can kick like these oblique kicks to the knees, trying to do a stopping kick to the enemy, or maybe, I don't know, I don't think this is the reason for it. Can it be applied in some cases? Yeah, probably, I guess. So if he engages me and targets my head, but then feints to my leading leg, and I have most of my weight here on my rear leg, I can put it back way easier. The other thing with the kicks, I don't think that it was applied or even was meant to be, but in a close combat situation. So we are very close together, like this. My legs are much too short, way too short. Like this, maybe I can try to closer situation, like in fight, like we are very close together. This can be advantageous if my weight is on the back more. I can stand the knee or kick somewhere. But again, this is just a guess and probably nothing more than I watch too much fantasy movies. I don't know, just maybe. So no matter if we are very sideways, like we know from the more modern fencing arts, or we are slightly more with the hips and the shoulders orientated to the front, you notice that in most depictions, starting with Maya with a long lange Messer, they often are portrayed like this. The rapier fencing, almost all one-handed weapon-based manuals do have the hand behind the back or on your hip or whatever. So why is that so? Most likely it's because you have an additional target with your hand you want to put away. You can still, if it rests on your hip, you can still engage in wrestling, grab, hook or whatever. You can grab your, if you have it for later centuries, maybe you have a gun or you have a knife. In Cossack context, maybe you have your kinjal or your bibut somewhere. So this is most likely to protect your hand, but also if you think, where do we fight with a Shashka? Where? So most of the manuals are showing duel-like situations where people with the same weapons engage at each other, or we have a bayonet, but it's most of the time 1 against 1. The Shashka is, I really love this weapon, but it's one of the worst dueling weapon there is. But that aside, we are most likely in a self-defense situation, or we are on a battlefield, and you don't have a blade naked in your hand all the time. So if you're in the cavalry, you do have it in a scabbard or as an officer or whatever. And if you think you come into a fighting situation, you have to control your scabbard, otherwise it's dangling all around if you move and it's not hold. So like the hip, the hand of the hip or the hand behind the back, you control your scabbard. You fight and you keep it steady so it won't dangle between your legs or whatever. You can even, like I mentioned earlier, still, if it's on a belt across your shoulders and your chest, or on a belt across your hips, you still can just take pistol, kinjal or anything else with your left hand. And you can even try to defend yourself with a scabbard depending where it is on your body. If you have to pull it out, is there a hook on the belt or whatever. So this is important to keep in your back of the head. Why is that so? So we have the stance, but for a fight we have to move. So again, what is it, what I mean when I say linear fencing? It's quite handy that we do have these lines here on the ground. You can keep your silhouette quite flat, small, whatever. Just fight on this line. Defend yourself and advance or retreat. Just always staying on the line. Important thing is to keep the distance between your feet always the same, so you don't overstep, except you will do a lunge, so then it's attentional, but otherwise look at this, always the same distance. The other method is, and this is what I mentioned earlier with the long knife or lange Messer things, you can also fight with angles. So if you don't fight with angles, you try to angle off. This is a more three-dimensional fencing. You try to angle off the center line of your opponent. Meanwhile, your center line still stays to the opponent. Steady, impaling, you know. So you try to go around the threat of your opponent's pointy thing he wants to steady stab you. So, but why is it important to know if you're moving linear or in a more dimensional way? So, as always, the magic word is the bird. No, the magic word is context. So, where are we? Are we in a duel-like situation? Is there space around us where we can move freely without the threat someone is stabbing in our back? Or are we on a battlefield? So our lance broke, our rifle misfired, our pistol doesn't work. We retreat to our Shashka. So we have a lot of people running around, firing shots, stabbing people with bayonets, and we have to fight with it. So where do we use it and against what are we using it against? So we can demonstrate what I mean with linear and more dimensional, and then we can take a closer look of which might be the better answer. So as mentioned in another video, the Shashka and the lange Messer are quite similar in some instances, some cases, and from the manuals concerning the long Messer, lange Messer, long knife, we know they are more into an angular, more dimensional way of fencing, while you have in the modern saber context a lot of linear working. So officers or higher rank soldiers are more in a duel-like situation where they can retreat, engage, attack. So what is better for the Shashka in a self-defense context and in a warlike battle skirmishing context? So we are sideways both, and let's say we stick to the linear fencing style without a handguard. Problem number one, I have somehow to come around the handguard at the same time. My hand is very threatened. So, for example, I start with a cut. I might hit him here. If he adjusts his guard position to the right angle, I won't come around his saber. And the same moment, I'm under threat. And I don't have a handguard to somehow adjust it, or if he stabs, I can't go around. I have to somehow adjust the whole thing. If I try the same cut as an attack with an angle, I can walk around. And if he adjusts his guard more, I still can try to angle off again. Doesn't matter if I stick to the angling off here, walking back, or if I go under and again out of the center line. I have to come somehow around the basket, the bowl, his hand protection. I don't have one. So this is maybe the most important thing that might indicate that more angular footwork is better to fence with a Shashka, because I don't have a shield. Although in the manuals is depicted a very linear way of fighting. So you have to keep in mind that there are no absolute things. Fighting is a very dynamic thing, and these are more ways where you can tend to move a certain way. So with a one-handed weapon I do have way more reach when I'm standing like this. And my head isn't exposed to the enemy as if I try to encounter him. I can still protect myself way better in this stance. But we have to keep in mind in which situation you are, and what kind of situation you are, and what movements we want to follow up with. So this is content for the next video, is the guard positions, positions, and how to attack from the guards in respect to the leg of a handguard here. I want to thank Lucian, who supported me here with the video today. Hannes behind the camera, and I hope you liked it, you learned something. Let me know in the comments what you want to have improved, if you like it, if you agree, disagree. Let's discuss in a polite manner, and stay tuned. Bye.